And here we are with show number 87 of The Last Angry DJ. My name is Mitchell K.C. Hill, which usually appears there below me so that you know who I am. There I am. And I'm the old guy from the golden age of broadcasting, which would be like the 70s and the 80s. And our gentleman that maintains his perspective from the current technological advances and AI and all that is Mr. Alexander Knight, who's the co-producer, not co-producer, you're the co-host.
Co-executive, co-producer. I'm one of those executive producers, one of the many executive something or others. You're not sure
reality.
Yeah,
when
you're not sure exactly what he does.
When you see executive producer on a movie, it's just something they gave away in lieu of money. Because
that's
it's not a real job.
Have you noticed that now when you look at the credits of any show or movie, there's like 16 executive producers? Like, what are these guys doing exactly?
Because people are into those, getting their 2 cents in there, so in case it's a giant hit. And then now their name is associated and attributed with the program. And the other thing are the custom, I guess they call them, they're called vanity credits. You know when they begin to run a movie and they show a quick logo sequence for one of the film companies? That's another thing that they negotiate for. They want that. Oh, I got to have my little 5-second wacko graphic in there at the beginning, and it's funny now because now I yelled them out. I yelled the name of the company out. Oh, that's whatever, and I just scream it out before it's come up, and people like stare at me. And some of the ones are pretty funny, like the guys that did Breaking Bad. They have this like weird, crazy animation.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're called vanity credits. They slap them on the front of movies now or shows. But you're right. There's just a plethora of credits that mean nothing to us. In the old days, I'm sorry to take so much of your time, but I'll make it real quick. In the old days, when they did a movie, they didn't run credits. It just said the end. Now you've got 2-3 minutes of credits that run after everything because everybody's got their name in there. I don't know if it's a union thing or if you just got to get your 2 cents. People don't really care about it, but I have friends in the business. They have to sit there through the entire credit roll. Might be 5 minutes. And I'm ready to get out. I'm ready to get out of the theater and get in my car and go home. In fact, I probably could get home before the credits are finished. The only ones halfway worth watching are the Marvel, because they throw those Easter eggs in there, like they come back and they do something that's a spoof on the current. You know what I'm talking about? Are you getting that at all?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I follow you, Mitch, but okay.
Just agree with everything I say. Anyhow, this is Alexander Knight, who is the producer and my co-host of the show, and he usually kicks things off. Alex, it's over to you.
Absolutely. Good to be here, Mitch, for episode 86 of The Last Angry DJ. If this is the first time that you're tuning in, this is a show that intersects old media versus new media, but unlike Iron Chef, it's not about whose industry reigns supreme. It's about discussing the ongoing challenges that we're facing in the world of broadcast, podcasts, YouTube. We talk about media, content creation, and production, and we get fairly technical, so hopefully you'll stick with us. And if you're in those industries, hopefully you have something to share. If you're in the live chat right now, please do mention that you're here. We'll make sure we get your name brought into the show as well. And of course, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, you can do that as well, but you got to be part of our online community. One of the things you can do right now is go into your web browser and type in ask.thelastangrydj.com. That's ask.thelastangrydj.com, and that's where you can put your show question in there, and we'll make sure we'll bring it in. And I think we have some things to talk about, Mitch. I just wanted to mention that Mark Giuliani, our friend, is gone this week, but he should be back next week. So
he's celebrating his anniversary with his lovely wife, and they've headed up to the mountains. And I wish him the best of luck. There's no internet there, so he won't worry about the show. And by the way, I inadvertently said this was show number 87. It is 86 officially. So number 86. Thanks for the correction there, Alex. That's why we have our backstage Mukana chat thing, that panel chat that lets us know what's going on. So it's version 86, as in let's 86 that show. The scheduled guest, Rob Carson, couldn't make it in today. We're sorry about that. We're looking forward to having him on a regular basis. Hopefully, Rob will be able to join us sometime in the near future. He's a busy guy. He's got a syndicated radio and TV show that keeps his interest going, and I hear he's building a new studio, which should be interesting for him. So it's Mark's on vacation. Anniversary, and he's a well-deserved vacation. And Rob, our guest, is off doing other things that he has to do in the last minute. So it's just you and me, pal, just like when we started out doing this show. And as you may notice, I've had a haircut. Or as they say around here in these parts, my ears have been lowered. Can you tell? My ears.
You look like an Army drill instructor. You got that close to the head shave.
Is it a pledge pin you're wearing? Anyhow, remember that from Animal House? Pledge pin, and he just had to pop those plosives in the process of doing it. So I don't know if we could do like an instant voting thing. Are we able to do that? Is that a complicated process?
We can do voting.
It's been instant voting. The short-haired Mitch or the scraggly Chewbacca look. Which do you prefer? That's what I'd like to know. Chewbacca or pledge pin haircut? One of the two. And then for the folks that are in there on Mukana, they can vote on it. And we have our regulars in there that are joining us. Thank you very much. Make sure you ask those questions. We would prefer them today, especially since it's just me and Alex talking about stuff. So what kind of trouble could we possibly get into, Alex? There's no problem here. There's no picking on. Is there? By the way, what is the one thing that I do that really ticks you off on a regular basis? I'm going to give you the opportunity to say it with no,
all right,
no bad things. So, is there something that I do that irritates, you when I'm on the show?
Perhaps using too many sound effects or calling out problems on the show, which I know you like to quote unquote
keep it real.
Yes. I'm not a fan of calling out flaws or problems on the show. Personally, I just like to power through those and just pretend like they never happened and just keep moving. So those are probably my pet peeves. Sometimes it's hard to get an edge in word-wise with you, but I think we do the best we can here.
You did a dyslexia there. It's not an edge in word-wise, unless you're just being clever. Were you?
I don't know.
Did I get
that?
Wait a minute. Am I correcting you on show? I'm sorry. I just did it, and it's going to make you angry for the rest.
What's wrong about what I just said?
Put a word in edgewise is the term. You said edge in wordwise. You reversed it.
That's same shit.
Same shit, he says. Okay, there we go. All right, so there we go.
You're right. No, you're
by the
right
way,
about that.
Hey, look, a lot of times I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong, but I'll call myself out if I do something wrong on the show. Or I already got corrected once. I said it was show 87. It's 86. And I'm sure there are people out there swooning as we speak. Mitch got it wrong. Let's put that on the blooper reel, that he said it was 87 when it's really 86. Something like the president will say, and then somebody calls him out on it, and he's in deep trouble. So, Hare, did you post that yet up on Mukana, in case anybody wants to vote on it?
I'm trying to figure it out. Sorry, I've never done this before.
Oh, don't worry about it. It was just I thought maybe
too much to do. We need other people. We need staff.
Staff. We have a staff infection, but we don't have a staff. All right, short hair, and I'm using I decided to button the top button on my collar. So here we are. We're heading into Halloween time, which is next week. What are you looking forward to for Halloween? Do you dress up still and go out trick or treating, or are you the recipient of many trick or treaters? And do they celebrate in Canada?
Are you asking me if you're asking me directly, I haven't done that in decades. No, I don't. I used to love Halloween. I have friends that care about it somewhat, but most people that I know just don't really bother doing anything. But no, I just stay at home,
holiday, man.
And I close the blinds and pretend that There's nothing different going on in the world. So
you don't want to put a bowl of candy out there that says just honor system, take just one?
Well, I live in a condo, so it's not like, no, I don't really participate in that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to have a neighbor, and he...
I'm no fun. I'm no fun, Mitch.
I'll write you out. But I figured with a guy who's a big fan of zombie movies and historical movies that you would be celebrating Halloween, like with decorations, even if you really only wanted to saw them. You know, like pumpkin heads. They've got some cool stuff out there. If you go like to a Costco or a Walmart, they've got some crazy animated things that jump up and do stuff.
I don't like tacky decorations. I used to date someone, and she would put all this shit all over the house, cobwebs and skeleton, all this crap, and I don't like any of that. I don't want that in my house.
I can see why you're still single.
I just don't.
There you go. You're just not in the spirit. And where would you cut off the age? Humbug, yeah. Humbug is not for the Halloween. So where do you cut off the trick-or-treat age? Where do you think is a legitimate, anybody over this age should not be at your door?
Well, first of all, unless you're a kid, I don't think you should be, an adult shouldn't be doing that. It's one thing to go to a party with adults and, have some kind of costume party and have drinks and that kind of thing. That's fine. But an adult shouldn't be knocking on doors asking for candy. That's ridiculous.
You have a piece of candy?
Yeah, that's no.
And why is it that, like, guys will go to a party and they'll dress up like Frankenstein or a zombie or something scary, and the girl I date occasionally, she's always going to be a really sexy witch, in her dress, and she's definitely a witch, but she's going for the sexy stuff, the low cut top and. The form
That's
fitting.
That's the go-to.
Yeah, but I don't go dressed up in sexy clothes. An open, shirt with a chest wig and a Wolfman face on.
Well, something tells me that you wouldn't be able to pull it off as easily, Mitch. But that's just a hunch.
Another backhanded compliment.
My spider sense is tingling.
Out to your, you better tingle, and we'll get you checked out.
Jerry,
I just wanted to cover. Yeah, go ahead.
Jerry Hoyle's in the chat, and he was just saying, just going back to your hair, he's saying, vote Chewbacca rather than Uncle Fester.
So I have to put a light bulb in my mouth and light it up. That was the big thing with Uncle Fester. Nowadays, everybody's got one of those little bulbs you stick in your mouth and do that. Whatever. It should be fun. So Halloween to me is a big deal. I like the holiday. It's my favorite, believe it or not. I'm into Christian holidays, but Halloween is the most fun. So we do have somebody down the hall here that puts out bowls of candy, and I have very copious handfuls of it as I walk by with my dog and go back to my apartment and go, oh, good. And, I especially like it because my parents aren't alive anymore to go through my candy because they used to do that. When I come home with bags, like big duffel bags full of candy, I'd have to dump it out, and they'd go through it looking for razor blades and, open candy. That was a thing. I don't know if it is anymore, but that was any candy that was that could have been tampered with. So, anyhow, so much for our Halloween celebration. That'll be next week. I wish you the best with that. I guess we're going to be on and off the air before Halloween, so this is technically our Halloween show. So we're celebrating that for all the fun that it's worth. So as Alex said earlier, get your questions in if you got them, because it's just the two of us, so we'll be very quick on what we're doing. Alex will be answering them. Go to ask.thelastangrydj.com. I saw Alex look over there, and he was ready to hit that button and make that happen. That's the other great thing that Alex does, is that he is the technical director, which means a TD, we say in short terms. He's running the show. He's also producing it, and he's also co-hosting it. And I noticed that you didn't ask me back whether or not there was anything that you did that irritates me, and I didn't get a chance to answer that. So I'll just leave it. I'll leave it open that you're able to pick on me for sound effects on my soundboard. And let's see if I got a good one here I can pop in there. I won't do it. I'll leave it off. All right, first topic. Let's get to the top of things. People are building. What's that? Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I'm acknowledging it.
Oh, okay. Good that you acknowledge it. Thank you for your service, sir. Anyhow, notice that it's always the opposite. So if he's really over here, you got to go to the opposite direction. That takes a lot.
Let's pretend to shake hands. Look, we're going to cross the boundaries of the internet right there.
Hands across the nation.
The magic of the internet, through the magic of the internet.
Canada and the USA are shaking hands. Wow, that's cool. So let's talk about building a Zoom studio or a Zoom room or an addition. Now, I think most people on the average would be building a room that just would allow them to participate in a Zoom conversation without it being a big production. This is a big production, what I have here, and what Alex has is a bit of a big production. That room is dedicated to doing Zoom calls. And I'm thinking of moving somewhere down the road. And if I do, I'm going to downsize, which means that I'm going to have to make the room somewhat smaller and maybe a little more utilitarian instead of, the big studio with the radio board here and the mics and all the other gadgetry. How would you go about building from scratch, a basic Zoom room, not depending upon your iPhone? Yeah, believe it or not, I have a 16 now, or your laptop or your iPad for doing a Zoom call. What would be the basic stuff? And I'm going to ask you, Alex, because you're the tech whiz here. You're a techno boffin that lives here on the show. What would be the way to start, and how would you start? Would you do good, better, best, or would you? What would be the things you would concentrate on, money-wise? Because it's all going to cost.
Yeah, so that's the key thing, right? So we're talking about what's your actual budget, right? So the first thing that I always do and I always consider is no matter what the budget is, I always work on the acoustic sound of the room. So the first thing is making sure that that room that you're in actually sounds good. Which means you're going to have to actually do something and spend a little bit of money in this area. Now, there are various ways to approach that depending on what your budget is. I went the acoustic panel route, and there's all sorts of reputable companies that make this type of thing. We're talking about absorption panels, like some of the bass traps that you see behind me, and you can't see all the other acoustic treatment. I spent quite a bit of money, actually, on it, and all this stuff behind me is made by a company called Prime Acoustic, Canadian company, actually. And but that's what I would focus on.
In there.
And pardon me?
You definitely dropped that in there. Are you saying that we have to pay more for it now?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Right. I like
and
those
so
guys. They're good.
It really depends on the budget. But even companies like Prime Acoustic, now they make, I wasn't quite prepared for this, London Prime Acoustic kits. They actually make a bunch of room kits. Now I had to buy several of these kits to make it whole. So you can see this is an example here of somebody's home studio here. Now they're available in different colors, but these types of panels do a great job of absorbing frequencies and really get rid of what's called standing waves, get rid of that kind of reverberation that you would hear in a room, because the way rooms are built, homes are not built for acoustics. They're built to be utilitarian. They're built to be attractive spaces. They're not built primarily for doing the kind of things that we do now. So Prime Acoustic make these kits here. They're called the London kits. And so they're based on square footage approximately. And you can get the London 8 kit. And these kits are actually not that much. I think they're about $300, $350 US starting. And you get quite a decent amount of panels for like a 250, 300 square foot bedroom. So again, designed for small bedrooms here. They've got a room calculator you can use on their website, primeacoustic.com. So I would recommend having a look at that to kind of calculate, well, how much acoustic treatment do I actually need? And then, of course, next up would be lighting would be critical. And then also making sure that you have a hardwired internet connection. You don't want to be on Wi-Fi. And then we have to have a discussion about your audio and camera chain. So again, this is all going to be dependent on budget. On the entry level side of things, a couple $100 can get you a pretty decent web camera these days. Something like an Insta360 Link is a pretty decent web camera. For $150, you can get a pretty decent dynamic microphone and an audio interface these days. There's all sorts of solutions available. So again, Mitch, it talks about it really comes down to how much money do you have? Do you have $2,000 or do you have $5,000? That's going to change my, what I would suggest based on the budget that you have. Do you have a specific? I think Mitch. Did we lose Mitch? We lost his video. Okay, Mitch is. I think he's rebooting his system here, and he should be coming back momentarily. But anyways, it depends on what kind of budget we're talking about here. So on the entry level side of things, I'll talk about audio for a little bit here. Generally for audio, a USB microphone, there's tons of options these days, but the Shure MV7 Plus is a great starter microphone. That one's actually a hybrid microphone that features both XLR and it also features USB. I think the cheapest mic that Shure now makes is called the MV6, which is a great starter microphone. That is USB only. That's the one that I've actually been recommending because it has the same capsule as the MV7. It's a great, highly directional microphone, and because it's USB, you don't need a separate audio interface. So that just plugs straight into the computer here, and that's how you can get your audio into the computer. Shure also has an app called the Motive Suite, which allows you to customize the microphone. It has onboard DSP processing, so you can do things like add EQ, you can add compression, and it even has broadband noise reduction. So that's one of the things that Shure has actually recognized lately, is that a lot of people that are doing Zoom meetings that are coming from homes that maybe they haven't treated their rooms acoustically, they need some kind of broadband noise reduction. Zoom also has its own audio processing built into the Zoom meeting client that does a pretty good job of removing things like background noise, removing fan noise, removing the sound of a compressor running on an air conditioner. So there are a lot of solutions now that don't really cost any money that you can just turn on that are software based as well. And that's kind of on the audio end. Usually for microphones, if you're going to buy a mic, I would recommend some kind of low profile mic arm like the one that I've got here. I'm not a fan of these big broadcast style, radio style arms that kind of drop down from the ceiling and they're hanging down in front of your face, because one of the things with videos that we always got to worry about sight lines. And that's why I recommend the low-profile mic arms. I'm not sure what's happening. Let me have a look at it. Maybe Mitch is having a problem getting back in here. Maybe his internet died. Just one sec. What's happening? This is what Mitch would call keeping it real as we figure out real-time problems here. Oh, Ronnie Hofsoy is in the stream. What did Ronnie have to say? Let's see. Ronnie Hofsoy says, if you can build a room, the size does matter, both length, width, and height, before starting to treat it, then add bass traps, and then add reflections. Yeah, I agree with you, Ronnie. The size of the room does actually matter. You know, a lot of people are typically in smaller bedrooms, and I define a smaller bedroom or average bedroom. It might be like 10 by 20 or maybe 15 by 20 or something like that. So, you know, these rooms, you know, parallel walls, hard surfaces, that is not your friend. That's where acoustic treatment comes in. And in fact, there are other solutions other than buying expensive panels that are pre-made. But, you know, one of those things that you got to consider too is also safety. A lot of these panels that are made by companies like Prime Acoustic, they have a certain fire safety rating as well. So you want to think about stuff that's not going to aid in the combustion of your home if some kind of emergency situation happen. Pipe and drape also can help. You know, one of the things that I used to do before I had bigger budget is I would just get moving blankets, thick, heavy, you know, 100-pound moving blankets. You can get them with grommets and you can just hang them from the wall. They're not attractive looking by any means, but they are definitely a way that you can get, you know, cut down on some of the reverberation in the room that you're doing as well. You know, there are lots of things to consider too. You know, once you got the audio and video side of things worked out, then you got to also consider set design and stuff like that. And it looks like we got Mitch back. Mitch, I've just been waxing poetic about acoustics and audio and video stuff, and Ronnie Hofsoy is in the chat and he had some comments about acoustics, so we just brought in his chat. But anyways, we're just talking about the various things you can do based on budget, including, I was just talking about moving blankets. If you're on a budget and you don't have $5,000 to spend on acoustic treatment, there are solutions, and you know, stay away from egg crates. Please don't use all that stuff. It's just, they don't do a great job. I would much rather you get moving blankets. They do a much better job on cutting down on reflections. And you're muted, Mitch, there. You are Zoom muted. You may want to also hopefully check your original sound and make sure you switch that back on.
Wow, was that a failure? That was a horrible. It just made a snap
Did your
sound
internet drop out? What happened there?
The whole thing just went down, and I couldn't come back in with the camera. It just wouldn't come back in. So sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Nice job covering it. I agree 100% with you on the idea that you need to treat the room before you try to treat it after the fact. It's just so much harder. And those London Prime Acoustics are great. One of the biggest problems that people have are the corners. If you'd already covered it, tell me to shut up. The corners of the room, you get bass buildup, and it causes problems. And the other is the room flutter. Like, you don't hear any flutter at all on Alex's room because of that nice panels behind him. And the flutter adds additional problems. And to use software to solve these problems is really not a good way to do it, because certain degrees of repair can be made using software. But I like what Alex is talking about in terms of using treatment. And here's the thing. Two kinds of things that can be an issue with audio. One is acoustic treatment, which cuts down on absorption or allows it to absorb, the flutter and all that. And the other is soundproofing, which is a much tougher issue, where you need to do something to the walls to keep vibrations from, going through the walls. And if you got a train outside your house, you're in a lot of trouble. I did on my place. I put a heavy-duty, it's sort of like a membrane material made by Sonex, and I put it in the ceiling between my unit and the unit above me because I'm in a condominium, and that helps. But to get that, what are they called, NCT 64 level of acoustic reduction is very, very complicated. So I'm sorry I dropped out there.
No, that's okay. We talked about
for you.
Yeah, and I do agree with you somewhat that the software-based solutions, it's not as good as treating the problem at the source, which is, dealing with the room. However, I will say that there are a lot of very sophisticated solutions. A couple things that I brought up, Mitch, while you were gone, is the fact that in a pinch, the Zoom audio processing and background noise removal works pretty decently. And also, one of the microphones that I mentioned, the Shure MV series, has broadband noise reduction. And that stuff actually works pretty good too. Again, would I prefer that people actually treat the room? Absolutely, because then you can actually have the raw audio of your mic, going into Zoom, and it will sound better if you just deal with the source of the problem. Absolutely. But there are pretty sophisticated tools, with DSP processing now and machine learning, we're able to pretty well accurately separate the human voice, intelligible speech, from actual real noise, right? You got something like Cedar noise reduction, you've got sound devices, noise assist, as well. So there are some more expensive solutions for removing that stuff as well.
Yeah, that Cedar's device, the DNR4, I think they don't make a 2. Wish they did. It's about $2,000 used out there. So all these things will cost a lot of money. But a good microphone, and I'm sure that Alex was talking about that, and treating the room before you do anything, even if it's just something simple. I have the Sonex carpet that's on the perimeter behind me, and above I've got the Sonex ceiling tiles, the ones that you see on Star Trek.
Yeah, who makes that, Mitch? Is it the
Sonex?
brand?
Sonex makes them. So you can get SONEX or something like that. And there are other versions of it, but I had the one that has, I wish I had my camera, my hand camera, I'd show you, but I have it above me, and I don't have that much room tone. And then the other thing is electronic devices. If you have a preamp on your microphone, chances are there's some type of noise reduction available. I have a Symmetrix, an older Symmetrix, and it has an expander, not a noise gate, but an expander that essentially it's like somebody sitting there taking the volume when I stop talking and just slowly turning it down and turning it up. Instead, it's chopping it, which sounds really bad.
I just wanted to show this as well because Mitch mentioned ceiling tile. So back to Prime Acoustic. Look at all these different. I mean, there's so many ways of tackling these problems, and I have some of these as well. But you can see here when you go to their website here for ceiling acoustics, you get these panels that drop down from the ceiling. I have a bunch of these on my ceiling as well. But look at all, and they, there's some aesthetic choices as well. They do have these different cloud panels as well that come in different geometric shapes. And then actually, here's an alternative to what Mitch was talking about too, because he's got those tiles. So Prime Acoustic also has their own product called Strato tiles. It's effectively the same thing. You're looking at a way of absorbing sound, but for you know who loves these corporate offices where they don't like, they care about aesthetics and they want something that's going to be fairly invisible, where they're not going to really, they don't necessarily want it to look like a recording studio. So these ceiling tile options are usually a good alternative as well.
You don't walk into a Fortune 500 company and they have egg crates on their conference room walls.
No, you don't. No,
doesn't happen like that. So that's a great bit of advice. You know, is some type of a treatment, and it runs a gamut. And the cheapest things, you know, if you want to use, is a sound blanket, like you were saying. You know, drape a sound blanket over the wall. You just got to cut down that reverberation that's called real time or RTA. And you just walk into a room and you clap your hands. If you hear that snap come back to you, you got problems. You need to, you know, do something with that. And that helps immensely for your intelligibility in any room, whether it's your back bedroom or an office space in your condo or whatever. Just be able to do that. Start there. It's a good place. And then get a decent mic. You know, I don't know if you covered microphones or not, but Shure makes
we did talk about that.
Great line of mics for doing all that. And, you know, not everybody can afford a AKG type mic, which is what, about $1,000, $1,200, something
more than
like
that now.
Yeah, I guess they have gone up. And then
I've got with Have you looked at how inflation has been affecting all these big brands? I mean, even Shure microphones, like the classic SM7B that has now become so ubiquitous with podcasts. I mean, it's gone up in the last couple of years. It's gone up like 25, 30% in cost, you know, and all of these mics, they just keep getting more and more and more expensive. And you know what? We keep buying them because they've got the brand name to them and people want these microphones. And what are you going to do? I mean, unless you're going to buy a used one, you don't really have much of a choice there.
Well, my U87 behind me, I bought it in 1979, and it's a classic microphone.
What'd you pay for it? Do you remember what you paid?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I paid like $2,500 for it, and I thought that was all the money in the world. But it was a time of my life where I was going to pursue a voiceover career and broadcast, and I said, I'm going to have the very best microphone available for voice work, and that's... Interestingly enough, on the East Coast of the United States, the U87 is the microphone you're going to see on most mic stands in a studio where you're doing voiceover work. Strangely, if you go to the West Coast, that would be that way, Mitch. It's a 416 shotgun from Sennheiser. I think that's the number.
That's a popular
416
one.
is a one. And, you know, that was...
By the way, look at
that's
this.
That's the U87. You got it.
In Canadian dollars.
Oh, my God. It's up there now?
It's
Holy
over
crap.
$5,000 in Canada now. Now let's look at U.S. dollars. All right, this is I'm always fascinated with exchange rates because it's gone up in the U.S. as well. So if we go to Sweetwater, American retailer,
I'm guessing $3,000 last I looked.
U87 AI, $3,900 now. So it's almost $4,000. Look at that.
When we had our guest on from Vanguard, Dennis was. I'm
Derek.
so sorry, Dan.
I believe it was Derek.
Derek. Yeah. He looked at mine over Zoom and he said, "Oh, that's a clean, U87. That's got to be worth at least $8,000." I was like, "Wait a minute, that's more than a new one would be." He said, "Yeah, but there are people that collect those." And I had it reconditioned once. And I'd love to have Derek do it again. I just don't have the money for it right now.
Well, here's the thing, Mitch, about Neumann's historically. If you start doing a little bit of research on the 87, there are actual sound differences. An 87 that was built in the 60s is not going to sound exactly like a brand new one. This is why they command such a high price on the used market. Is there were slight variations over the years that Neumann did to the 87. So that's why those vintage mics, that you could easily find one on Reverb for 10 grand. So he's right, that one that you have may very well be worth quite a bit. Now, I'm not saying you should sell it, obviously, if you have a use for it. But that's the problem, is once you sell it, if you want to buy it back, you're not going to be able to afford that vintage. I would hold on to that thing, man, unless you don't need it.
I have. Like I said, since 1979, it's been my one thing that I own. And now I bought a Neve 8801 processor. And Neve has that certain magic dust that they sprinkle on their audio stuff that makes it sound good. And between the two, the U87 and the Neve processor, which is in the rack right around here, they're not going anywhere. Because all of this stuff, the studio stuff, I could get rid of. If again, I've been talking about downsizing and moving somewhere. I would keep the Neumann, I would keep the Neve, and then I would just go into a Mac with a decent DAC. In fact, the Neumann now the Neve has a digital out. I would just use a converter to get into the USB to get it into my M1. That's all I need. I don't need all this other stuff. I don't need all the processors. I don't need this nice Wheatstone board here behind me. It's too much like a recording studio. I don't really need that. I just need to record my voice. In fact, I could do it with this 414 and my little M1 and Adobe Audition, because I have all the Adobe stuff. So anyhow, sorry, I've gone a little off track, but the mics have a lot to do with the character of the sound that you're going for. And I think Alex could give you a tip as to what direction to start out in before you go to extremes, like spending $5,000 for a
well, the thing is, if you're going to be doing voiceover, I mean, there's so many good mic choices. The thing I always try to tell people is that just because a microphone is more money, it doesn't mean it's going to be the best choice for you, and you won't know until you actually try some of these microphones. There are a lot of fantastic microphones for under $500 that are condenser microphones that you can get if you're looking into getting into the world of voiceover. For example, some of the Lewitt microphones, like the LCT 440, is a great value. I think it's about $300 or $350 US dollars. There's the Audio Technica 4033, which is a fantastic microphone under $500. There's a lot of choices. Some of the Mojave microphones, Mojave makes high-end microphones as well, but they actually have an entry-level condenser mic called the MA50, which they actually built because they historically are not a fan of the Neumann TLM 103, which has become very, very popular. So they challenged themselves with building a competitive microphone that would sound better than the TLM 103 at a much lower price point. And I think they accomplished that. I think the MA50 is a fantastic sounding microphone. I've sold that microphone to people that are just getting started in the world of voiceover, and they're super happy with that microphone. Again, Mitch, there's so many options now. You do not need, if you think you can't do your job without buying a U87, that is just not, seriously, it's not about, to a degree, having a good microphone does make a difference, but it is beyond just the equipment. It is not about that. It is about the skill. It is something that you will get better with over time. So you do not need to spend thousands of dollars now.
Yeah, we kind of answered that question last week. Somebody had asked, do you select a mic to enhance the quality of your voice? And that's the operative word there, is that no microphone is going to make you sound like James Earl Jones out of the bag. I don't care how much money you spend. It's just not going to happen. And even if you have...
Or a Bobby Dark.
Yeah, or a Bobby Dark. See, that's a reference to my old radio name. But my first microphone that I used in radio was an old Electro Voice 635A. You know, the classic, sorry about that motion. You can't do anything anymore to describe something because people think you're doing something worse. But anyhow, the 635A was the mic I used. And, it's a dynamic mic. It sounds pretty good. But it was like, I don't know, $60. And again, all the money in the world when I was a young, pre-teenage guy trying to do voice stuff on the radio. That's what I started out with. But even this U87, it does a good job of reproducing my voice. But a number of things have happened over a long period of time, and that is I've sort of like playing any musical instrument, I've sort of coaxed my voice to sound a certain way for certain kind of, situations. Like if I'm doing a car dealer spot, I'm going to be a lot more brassy and upbeat. This week at Mack Hike, Chevrolet or whatever, I'm going to be a little more upbeat, and the Neumann just does a great job of wrapping that all around. Or if I need to lean in and get, very quiet. MB&A Bank has the special checking account. I just know how to work that mic. It's an instrument that I'm very familiar with, that I've worked with. Sort of like that, what do you got, a new Fender behind you? Alex, you have to, become...
Yeah, I don't have the guitar behind me. That's actually an amp. Sorry, the guitar's in the other room. But that's a company called Blackstar. They're a British amplifier company.
Okay, cool. So the point I'm making is that the mic isn't going to do it for you. A combination of you and a mic would be a good thing. And again, don't spend more money than you have to, particularly when you're starting out, because I'm telling you, the voiceover business, if that's what you're thinking of doing, very, very competitive right now, because a lot of people have made that their side hustle. A lot of ex-radio guys that have retired from radio, either purposely or because they got canned, are trying to supplement their income. It used to be that you could make $200-$300 a commercial. Nowadays, it's not like that. You'd be lucky to make $30 or $40 on a commercial. So why don't we move over to the questions? I'm sure some people would like to know what's going on, Alex, in the world of studios.
Yeah, absolutely, Mitch. So the first question, this one comes to us from Jerry Hoyle, who asks, waiting for, and this is why you need a dedicated question manager, because now I got to switch screens here. Jerry Hoyle in Wesley Chapel, North Carolina, is asking, waiting for AT&T to turn on my fiber connection. 1 gig up and down is $80. Who is your provider? Speed and cost.
That's news to me. I didn't know that AT&T was doing fiber to the home, the last mile. I know that they have a wireless product. I just bought this new phone, and when you're there, they try to sell you everything they have, including DirecTV, which they no longer own. Don't go with anything wireless. Stay away from wireless services. So make sure you understand when they say, well, we're going to sell you 1 gig up and 1 gig down symmetric service. Make sure that it's not wireless, because wireless is not dependable. I don't know if Alex agrees with me on that, but generally speaking, wireless is dangerous.
100%.
The big five. Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say the 5G
I just want to
thing.
My general rule
like
with wireless, whether it's internet or microphones, wireless should never, with microphones specifically, wireless should never be used as a convenience. You should only ever use wireless unless it's absolutely necessary. Even the pros don't use wireless unless it's absolutely necessary. And with the internet too, especially for stuff that's critical when it comes to timing of audio and video delivery over the internet, you should never ever use Wi-Fi. And it's not about, I have the latest 802.11 spec Wi-Fi router with 11 billion antennas on it. It's not about that. It's the inherent problem of Wi-Fi and the fact that it's constantly jumping between channels all the time, and the increased jitter and latency that can happen with it. So wireless, bad.
All right, I'm glad that you agree, because I agree 100% with Alex just said. And the other thing is that be suspicious of new services like the AT&T wireless or Verizon. Comparing the two, Verizon's had a lot more experience with wireless. With fiber. So I would probably go with I would investigate the Verizon version of fiber. Unfortunately, I'm looking literally at the demarc point right in our property line, and there's a Verizon hot fiber right at the top of the hill, but they can't bring it down into our property because there's some kind of a zoning restriction going into the city of Wilmington, where the department that handles all of that. Anyhow, there's a fight going on. So when they have fiber, I'm going to fiber. I do have Comcast, which is okay. I mean, for the most part. I mean, it might have been what knocked me off the air here just a few seconds ago. I'm on Comcast, so maybe that's what happened there. I don't know for sure. I can't say. But yeah, Jerry, I would I would be very careful of that. Wait till the jury's out on it, because it may not be the same everywhere. It may be good in one area, it might be great in San Francisco, but it might be horrible in Philadelphia. So depending on where you live, do some research on it. But if you must have fiber, which is the best way to go, right now I would say Verizon, at least in the United States. I don't know what's going on.
And Mitch, what's the bandwidth and cost that we're talking about for what you have? Because Jerry's also asking what you got. Yeah,
thanks for letting me finish that whole thing. It's I have Comcast, because it's literally the only choice I have for a wired connection of some kind, and it's I'm paying for 300 megahertz down. And it's not 300 megahertz up. It's not symmetrical. It's 30 up. And I pay $150 a month for that. And I always have people say, oh, well, I get 1 gigabyte up and down. You know, the prices vary all over the place.
Megabits, not megahertz, but megabits per second.
Sorry, it's mad cow. I don't remember things the way I used to. So that's what I got, Jerry. But I wouldn't go on my situation. They may have better services out there. I've been with Comcast a long time. They treated me pretty well, and I have a relatively good service, mainly because I've got Comcast Business, not consumer. And the problem between business and a consumer level internet is that they tell me all the time that they say that 99% of the bandwidth on the consumer side is used by 1% of the consumers, because they're in there grabbing bandwidth, and you're on a party line, so to speak, with other people. So if you're in a business service, you got better chance of being protected by that 99.1 rule that I just mentioned right there. So that's what I'm using.
And what I am using up here in Canada land is ISP called Shaw. And my bandwidth right now that I'm paying is, and I pay quite a bit, it's 2 gigabits per second downstream, 200 megabits per second up. So it's not fiber, it's cable. I'd love to switch to fiber. I do have fiber actually going into my building, into my suite. I probably will switch relatively soon, but it's been very stable. I just recently did some networking upgrades, and my switch now is capable of going up to 10 gigs per second. And one of my Macs recently, I bought a USB-C to Ethernet adapter to give me 2.5, because right now I can't even fully saturate. Like, I couldn't even if I wanted to, take full advantage of the downstream bandwidth, because none of my computers have network interfaces that'll do anything more than a gig. So I recently bought a StarTech adapter that would allow me to do this, and I started testing it last week, and I actually discovered that there's a problem. I am not getting the advertised speeds that I've been paying for months on that plan, and I had to complain to Shaw. And although my modem is capable of it, they decided that they're going to send a technician out here. They may need to replace the modem because there's something clearly faulty going on. I'm like, well, guys, I'm spending $140 a month for this internet, so you better be able to deliver. So I'm dealing with that, and I've got that technician coming over next week. Hopefully they can replace the hardware and get that working.
Similar story over here. I'm in a condo with other people on the same cable system, on the same segment. And even though I have the business class, it just takes one person that decided they wanted to hook up their own cable box to their TV and not using the right kind of connectors, or crimping them properly, or leaving them loose, and they're leaky, and they start leaking frequency, and it brings everybody's down in the area. So you're stuck with how good all the connections are in the rest of your condo. They're probably going to check it with one of those they have these little boxes they carry around that checks the lines and see if there's any bounce going on or leakage on the signal. So you're still a little bit of a party line.
I don't like the sound of that.
Cable leakage.
That's not what you want to hear from your.
In a world, it's cable leakage is taking
your internet provider. There appears to be some leakage happening, sir.
Well, it's a different story every time that I, ring them up. But I'm always checking with Speed Test, which is, what is it, speedtest.com, the Ookla.
Yeah, actually, I like Cloudflare. Have you tried the Cloudflare one? It's way more comprehensive, and it does not have ads on it. Speed.cloudflare.com is really awesome.
Good tip. Good tip. And Jerry, thanks for your question because it's like going to the grocery store and picking what kind of peanut butter. I mean, they all kind of taste the same, don't they? But now you've got, Peter Pan.
No,
and
that is
Skippy
not true. They do not.
Well, they do. It's like buying maple syrup. Uncle Ben's was my favorite, and all of a sudden, apparently Uncle Ben is been removed. For
so what I will say this about peanut butter, and I'm not going to go on a crazy tangent.
Go ahead,
on
go
this.
nuts.
Peanut butter. Never
nuts.
buy peanut butter. Peanut butter should only contain 1 or maybe 2 ingredients: peanuts, maybe salt. That is it. No icing sugar. Do not buy that crap with icing sugar. The one that I actually buy contains sea salt, and it's really, really, really nice.
It's good.
That's what I get for peanut butter.
Smooth or crunchy?
Smooth, absolutely smooth.
Me too. I grew up with Peter Pan. But here's another little tip for you on peanut butter. Don't buy peanut butter that has fake sugar in it. I think that's called xylitol or something like that. If you feed peanut butter to your pet, that xylitol, the fake sugar, it will kill them. It shuts their kidneys right down. So be very, very careful if you're used to feeding your pet peanut butter. It may taste the same or similar, but unless it has real sugar in it, it's best not to share it with your furry buddy of any type, that you might have out there. So there's so many different flavors of everything, including internet. But one thing that Alex and I both will totally agree: no frickin' wireless. Don't go that route. It's a dangerous route. And the thing of it is, the phone companies like AT&T, they want you to have that wireless remote box sitting there on your shelf, receiving the signal from one of their towers. 5G is not that great, by the way. They talk it up as being the latest and the greatest. 5G service is not really good unless you have a line of sight with the tower that's handling that service. It's horrible in cities. It has multipath and blockage and all kinds of problems like that. So if they're talking up 5G, and you may think it's a marketing scam. So watch yourself with wireless. Watch yourself with 5G or LTE or any other flavors of this, that, and the other thing. And what are they talking about? A 7G or something now that's coming along?
It's ridiculous. Like 5G, whatever they call 5G plus. I mean, it's really, really fast when it works when you're in the right area. And let's not talk. We don't need to talk about millimeter wave because that's almost completely useless.
So I hope that answers your question, Jerry. But we're real particular about our peanut butter and our internet. So the two do work together, hand in hand.
And our mics.
And microphones, yeah. And we do. It's strange. Alex and I battle all the time over some technical thing, and usually it's over the semantics of describing it. I'm not going to describe it the same way he will, and many times we call each other out on the technical qualifications of it. When I used to be on office hours, I used to get in battles all the time with those who will go nameless over what a compressor is and what a limiter is, and how the two do pretty much the same thing, but they do it differently. So just not to get into that argument, but there is a big difference between an AGC compressor and a fast limiter. Okay, just so you know. And in the broadcast business, it was traditional to have an AGC on the studio side and a limiter on the transmitter side. So because the limiter is fast acting and chops those peaks off that can overmodulate your transmitter, whether it was an AM or an FM station. Nowadays, there's all kinds of magic things like look ahead limiting and all kinds of.
Yeah, and I think also the thing with those AGCs too, just to keep the natural sound and dynamics of the source, they tend to have a slower attack and a slower release, so they're not clamping down so quick, and you get that kind of aggressive compression that you would maybe hear that on a pop vocal, but you don't necessarily want that on spoken word, right, Mitch?
Well, yeah, too. I mean, if you go back to the what were the classic the the Pultec or the Uri.
Well, Pultec was an
limiters.
EQ, but you got so you start. I mean, I suppose you could even go back as far as the famous Fairchild compressor at Abbey Road, which is tube based, and of course the LA2A, the Teletronics
That's the one
LA2A,
I
which is
meant
an
to talk.
opto style compressor, and then you have FET based compressors. So different technology, different ways of different sound characters as well.
Yeah, they did. And
1176s. I mean, they all have different.
Any of them, whether it's an AGC or a limiter or anything else, I think Alex will agree that if you hear them working, they're working too hard. So back off on that. And I've heard plenty of radio guys that they want to have that really deep, close voice thing. Like Howard Stern. Now he cups his hand around his microphone and he shoves that microphone and he talks deeply. And Howard, you sound fine. You don't need.
You want to hear my Howard Stern person?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's hear.
Hey now. There you go.
I don't think Howard does "Hey now."
He does.
But when you call him, you're supposed to say "Hey now" instead of saying "Hey Howard."
He says he opens the show with "Hey now." He absolutely does. I listen to him every single week.
Well, there you go. There we go.
Maybe by the way, that is something that was pilfered from the Gary Sandling show. You remember
Larry Sanders
Shandling show, which was a fantastic show. That was his Gary's co-host Hank, who came up with this whole new thing. He's like, I'm thinking of saying this thing called "Hey now." What do you think? And they get this whole argument like, Hank, there is no sentence you can construct that would make sense to have the words "hey now" in a sense. Here, and he would get in this whole argument like, here, just try and say something and make "hey now" fit in a sentence, and he couldn't do it.
The guy that played his producer, I used to kid my show producer when I was on the radio, Chris Alberts. I used to always call him the what was it? Not Hank. It was the guy that was the producer of the show. The guy with the beard. The actor.
Rip Torn.
Rip Torn. Yeah. The Rip Torn actor. Just perfect. Just
hilarious.
Absolutely stone perfect. Hank, get out of here. Just get out of here.
That's actually a pretty good Rip Torn.
No, it's not bad. All he does is rough up his voice.
You got his face. You got the face.
Oh, thanks. Nice. I need to have the scraggly beard. Have you seen his? He's on the Gary Busey scale of DUI pictures. He's probably like a number 8. If the Gary Busey is the worst one, with his hair going every which way. And if you haven't seen him lately, he's even weird looking. It's just who also looks weird I haven't seen in a million years is Bill O'Reilly. I just happened to catch him talking about CNN the other day, and what happened to him? He looks like gravity finally took over. His earlobes are down to his shoulders, so they're kind of flapping in the wind. His hair is anyhow. So what do you got? I don't want to get political, but he was talking about how CNN was so horrible now.
Yeah, and I just thought I'd mention that, Mitch, that Rip Torn died in 2019.
Yeah, alive or dead, Rip Torn. He had some DUI issues up where he was living. He was living out in the woods somewhere up in Maine, some crazy place, maybe up in Canada. Who the heck knows? So I don't know, where were we? I backtracked. Larry Sanders, Gary Shandling doing "Hey Now." Okay, I agree. "Hey Now" was a great bit, and then that was a take up off of Ed McMahon's "Hey-o."
Oh, sure.
Remember that?
Yeah, sure.
The "Hey-o." So they were just basically copying.
Well, everyone's got to have their thing. I've thought about that many times. Like, well, what's my hook? I mean, Mitch has got his kind of his own
fuck
thing.
You. That's mine. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I'm still working on developing mine.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Maybe if you take your hat off and you take a bow or something like that, because your hat is now your trademark. And before that, it was you had a mohawk thingy going down.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
Which I think was a good look for you. I think that you were making a statement. You made a statement there. So we're working our way through microphones, and maybe some questions are filtering in. By the way, go to ask.thelastangry.dj, and this is your good chance to get your questions in on the this abbreviated and smaller number of people show of you call it the broadcast Boffins. And I see that showing up all the time now when I do a search. So apparently it's more popular than The Last Angry DJ. So I'm getting a little dig there on Alex. I keep telling us, be careful. I like it, but I don't like it that much. You know, what are you going to do? Keeping it real here, folks. All right, so microphones. How about lighting and cameras? Alex, where would you go next after you got to the microphone part?
Well, again, it depends on what your budget is, right? So I mentioned earlier on in the show, I mentioned the Insta360 Link, which is actually gone down in price. Fantastic little 4K web camera. It's got facial tracking.
It's when you see people doing this all the time. Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the tracking, but I could say in limited use cases, I can see how, for example, if you're an educator, let's say you're a teacher and you got like a whiteboard or something behind you and you don't have a camera operator, it is pretty nice to have a camera that can actually follow you, because it's motorized and it's got it's got that gimbal that's built in it, and it can move, side to side and track your movements. So I can see how that would be beneficial. But for cameras, I like larger sensor cameras. I've got a Panasonic Lumix GH5S, which is a micro four thirds with a 30mm Sigma lens. And I bought it at a great price. They don't make it anymore, but you can get these cheaper micro four thirds cameras, which look pretty good. The Sigma lens is f1.4, so I'm able to get a really shallow depth of field, even though this is like 4 feet maybe behind me. That background is really close. So I've got my lens fully open all the way to f1.4, and then I've got an ND filter. It's a neutral density filter to get it down, stop down correctly to so I'm not overexposed. So you can get on the used market now, if you go to your local camera shop, you can get these certified refurbished or certified used cameras, which I would recommend because you actually get a warranty through your local camera shop. You can get a camera like the one that I have, the GH5S, or for example, on the Sony end, nowadays you can buy like a Sony 6400. Those are a bit of an older APC lens, and then you can get a Sigma lens that has decent autofocus for those Sony cameras. So you can look at the used market to get pretty good image quality. Also, the lighting matters as well, which I sort of briefly touched on. We haven't really gone into detail, Mitch, about that. I know you're on a much more expensive camera. You're on a FX3 full frame, right?
Yeah, I went crazy because 3 years ago, I have my good friend who's my business partner. He's a cinematographer. He knows all of them. He deals with everything from the top of the line Alexas through the Sony Venice and the Burano, or whatever that thing's called now. And he knows everything. And he said, let's go with this new FX3 that Sony has introduced. So kind of like the specs on it. It's a mirrorless camera. It's a one of those 35 millimeter body type, and it's a full frame, full sensor. But the thing I learned real fast, because I was kind of a babe in the woods too, was that the camera at that time cost about $4,000, and I would not buy that today because I don't have the money. I would go with an FX2, which will get you a darn close.
It's half the cost, right? Half the cost for that. Yeah,
it's like $2,000. But the other thing where you're not going to get half the cost is lenses. Lenses still use the same physics and still require the same amount of effort to make. But if you want the very best autofocus with a Sony, which is the best autofocus camera for now that's out there, use a Sony lens, because it's just the mechanics in it and the electronics. They seem to be able to talk to each other real well. But Sigma is an excellent secondary choice that I doubt 100%. Anybody would notice on a webcast, because you don't see this depth of field changing a whole lot while I'm going back and forth, because normally you don't do that. So it's kind of set and looking good. So I'm using a 20 to 70 millimeter. I can barely remember. It's about 1.7.
Are you using a Sony Grandmaster lens? Because those are pretty expensive.
Correct. And the reason I did it is I didn't know what prime to buy.
Right.
I had no idea.
And the Sigmas are about half the cost, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I could have bought a 50 millimeter Sony prime for about half the price. It was like, this was about $2,500 when I bought it. I mean, it's
and they're
crazy.
pretty good. I've got a Sigma. The autofocus is pretty good on those.
Yeah, they're not bad. But once you go outside the world of Sigma, you got those, what are they, Torinos or...
Oh, well, there's lots of cheap. Yeah, well, you got Tamron, and you've got also all sorts of other cheaper options.
Gran Torino. It's like, they don't look anywhere. They don't deliver.
Some of the Tamron stuff is pretty good for the money.
I think you'd be okay with a 50 millimeter because it's about 3 feet from me to the camera itself, the sensor. And you get a reasonable, I have it set to 1.7. I guess that's what it is. Again, I haven't touched it in years. It's just been set. So I get this much blurring. I don't need any more. And I refuse to use all those fake blurring that try to emulate. Anything that tries to emulate in software, something that happens in real life, just irritates the crap out of me. You know, people put backgrounds behind them. Oh, look, I'm in the south of France. You know, I always can notice because we're trained to see things, and we just always notice it around, hair when I had it, or other things. It just doesn't look right. So keep it real, folks. Keep it real. All right, let's move on to lighting. What do we do to get some kind of lighting going on?
Sure. Well, I mean, for me, what I am using, and I'll explain recently what I changed. I used to have these smaller source lights. Now, one of the things that I've learned, especially over the last few years from office hours and learning from other people that are much more experienced in the world of lighting than me, is that you really want large as you can possibly afford and fit, as far as the sources are concerned, because it gives you a much softer wraparound light, which you really, really want. I had these smaller little, 12 by 12 inch little panel lights, and they look a little more what we like to call as sourcey, a little more spotty, a little harder, not as soft. And so I only have one large key light in front of me, and this is a Amaran F22X. It's a 2x2
good light
with a soft box on it, and it's got the egg crate diffuser thing that basically allows it to be very, very directional. I'd like to get a second one to just have it like maybe just like 10%, just to give me a little more fill. I've got a tiny little Amaran light right here, which if I turned on if I turned it off, the right side of my face would go a little dark, and it's a tiny splash of light to give me a little more light. It's to give me a little more definition here, so it's not, you don't get as much shadow down here. And then of course I have an overhead light as well, which gives me a little more separation between the background and the foreground, so you get a little bit of this light kind of, you can see on my shoulder there, you can see that right there. And if I turn that off, I'll actually show you here. If I turn that off, you'll see what the difference is, and I'll turn both of these lights off. So I'm going to turn off, first let's turn off the, as Mitch likes to call it, the beard light. So watch my face right here. I'm going to turn it off. Here we go. See what happened there?
Aha!
Right?
Instant and 5 o'clock shadow.
Back on. Okay, and if I go to my overhead light, watch my shoulders and watch my hat. See what happened there?
Aha!
Look at the difference that makes in terms of the separation.
Some people would have given up before they did that, but that's what makes you look so good.
There you go.
I'd say you're the best. I think you're the best looking on office hours in terms
thank you,
of
Mitch.
your.
I appreciate that. You didn't have to, Mitch. You're not paid to say that, but thank you.
Okay, and you're probably the best here because we have many guests that say, Alex looks great on your show, and I'm like, can't you say anything about my show and my look? And they just kind to do that. Okay, what I'm using an expensive key light. I'm using a light panel Astra, and it's made to be a soft light that you use if you take out on and it's a 12 by 12. It's not a wide extra one, but you're right. If you get a big diffuser on that, and I have a chimera is the correct way to say it without
chimichanga.
Chimichanga that I used to eat when I'm hungry. It's a chimera is the way to chimera, CH, that I could put on there. But then I'd have this big balloon-shaped thing sitting over there. So that's doing the main lighting. And then I've got a cheaper light over to my right. And they all look like they were made from repurposed laptop lighting things because they've got the lights around the edges. and that causes a very soft light, plus the light bulbs in the middle. So if you have direct lights punched in there, it's going to give that harsher light. But if you want something soft, the light needs to bounce around a lot. And then over my shoulder, I've got one other light for my my hair light. And I'll use
and you got the accent lights too in the background, which I forgot to mention mine too.
Yeah. I got. Let me show you that the hair light does. Let's go here, here, here. This is what the hair light does. Did it? It did not change it. There it goes.
Oh yeah, no, I can see it. Yeah, no, it makes a difference.
It's
the
subtle,
but it makes a
shiny
difference.
part of my head. I think the battery on my remote is going dead. There it goes. Came back in, and then the light to my right, which is the fill. I can get that clamshell look. Oh, the batteries are going. That's more of the more cinematic
Rembrandt lighting.
Yeah, exactly. So I prefer to keep it on.
It can't be overstated. You know, I think one of the most important additions is that overhead light, and I feel that when you just did that example of turning it off and on, to me that's the difference between an amateur look and a pro look, and it's that subtle difference that really does make a big difference in how impressive you look on camera. And since we're talking about accent lights, I've got these they're DMX, these PAR lights, and they're just barely turned up to like maybe 20%, not even actually. If I actually black out those lights, now you're gonna still see, I'll turn them off, because that's what's creating the yellow. My remote control didn't work. What's going on here?
See, I had the same problem.
There we go.
It's catchy.
There we go. So, hold on. I'm sorry. That turned off both my key light and my background. I've turned off everything. Nice. Sorry. I'll have to turn that back on here.
The Dark Shadows version.
Uh-oh. It's not turning. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Anyways, that turned. Let me see if I can.
He's using wireless, by the way. That's why it's doing that.
I don't have it configured where it's just one button that turns it all off. Anyways, I can't really demo that, but believe me when I say this, that yellow colored light is barely turned up. I used to actually have it full blast, and I found it was a little too much. But I think we got about when we're building these studios, Mitch, we've got to think about set design. And I think just sprucing things up, I think it's in addition to thinking about the lighting. Oops, I cut to the wrong thing. We got to think about adding something behind you that says something about who you are as a person. Little trinkets, little objects, little things that make it really interesting. Like I obviously like video games because I've got a Nintendo. That's an original Nintendo NES console.
I can't tell what that is.
It's blurred out so badly, but right there, that is a Nintendo console right there.
And I see,
and I got books, and I got my Mr. Rupert Neve bobblehead.
I see Mr. Neve
bobblehead
there. Yeah.
You can sort of see that right there. So, yeah.
And I'm going to take a moment to claim I was the first guy to do the on-air light with meters.
Yes.
I was the first guy to do that on office hours. I don't know if that qualifies me as the leader, but I thought it was a natural way of saying here what I'm doing. So I'm on the air, and there's some kind of activity going on back here, except my meters are not synced to my voice. It's music that's playing on a server that's behind me. It's that's what you're actually seeing, my music server. So weird to see my finger going the wrong direction.
Right, and mine is hooked up to the program audio. So I think you've just admitted live for the first time that I have something that outstrips what you have.
Yeah, just using it differently. And the other thing is that you paid $200 for your Chauvet cheapo.
Oh no, not even that. It was $100, I think.
Yeah, this light. Oops.
But you got the nice Duro meters. I'm jealous.
These Duro meters are like $2,500, and they don't make them anymore. So I went crazy when I built this room, and I have a Sockler tripod standing in the corner that's never been used ever, and that was like a $2,500 Sockler carbon fiber, and I got a radio console which I do use from time to time, and I've got my Neumann and all that, which I don't use for the Zoomcast. And people say, Mitch, why don't you use that Neumann? It's probably going to sound better. Maybe, but then I'll have this big Neumann crowding my space. And it's overkill for the room. So I have an overkill camera, the FX3. I've got an overkill microphone, the 414. And I have a little bit of processing, thanks to Alex and Chorus Broadcasting, tossing it in the trash. And Alex rescued it when he was dumpster diving at the local Canadian Broadcasting Organization. Did you literally do that? Dumpster dive, or did you just...
I did not, but I did take some of the stuff that they were going to throw in the trash. I talked to the head engineer over at Chorus Entertainment because they were converting all of their studios to digital, Mitch. So they gave me a bunch of Symmetrix 520Es, and that's what I ended up sending directly to you.
That's what I have over here, and I have two more in the rack, but unfortunately they don't work anymore.
Well, we can fix those.
Because they're so old, the caps are dried up in them. Yep. And I originally came on office hours with the Aphex version of the...
Aphex channel.
Aphex channel is behind me on the floor, on this side, sorry. I'm literally sitting there. Something happened to the power supply, and it's going to cost $50 to get it. So I haven't done anything with that. So, you might have stuff lying around your house. If you're like me, I already had a lot. Most of the stuff was already here. The mic was here. The processor was not. The on-ear light and some of this other stuff that I got hanging behind me was floating around, and I just sort of repurposed it. And I kind of did it before there was. I was connected to office hours, and since then I've sort of refined the entire look. It's like Alex was the one that told me to get the on-air light here. Because I said, well, I got an on-air light, and I can put it over my head. He said, no, put it to your side, over your shoulder, on that rack that's over there. And then hang your microphone down in front of it so that you can see the mic and the on-air. So if I went back, you could see the mic better because it's...
Oh, yeah. There we go.
You can see it a little bit better. So that's what I did. So, I agree it should look like what it should look like. When you do something that's fake, or you're trying to impress people because it looks like you're at your condo in Boca Raton, people are going to see that, and you're going to be a poser at that point. You know what a poser is?
I do. Yep.
Yeah, poser. When I first got my Mercedes, people said I was going to put an AMG button on the back of it, and it was not an AMG. They said, no, don't do that. You're going to be a poser. You're going to get called out. I said, well, most people would know what that is. Yeah, but it only takes one person to catch it. So I have nothing. I took all the badges off the back of the car. So no poser here. What kind of car do you drive, Alex? Are you willing to tell us?
Sure. I mean, it's not sexy. It's just a really old 2005 Toyota Echo because I can go 700 kilometers on a single tank of gas to work, and I got a lot of driving to do every single day. I got to drive an hour each way.
A Toyota is an excellent car.
I'd like to get a different car. I'd like to get a different car at some point, but for me, it's right now.
It's just
about keeping the gas costs down.
Yeah, don't buy a new car anymore. You don't need to, because cars go obsolete. Eventually you're just going to go on
I'd like an electric, but they're still pretty expensive. So.
Yeah, but what are they going to do with electrics? And here's the thing: who pays the taxes on the gasoline that does the Department of Transportation for the road services? The federal government is not collecting taxes on electric cars or your state. Now, I don't know how it is in Canada, but how do they derive income from electric cars? Are they just going to start blanket sending you a bill for the taxes for using electric cars on your roads? That's what they have an issue here. They're trying to decide what's fair. So far, none of that's been fair.
That's complicated.
Which is kind of moving us to the final portion of our show, or it's Mitch's Beef of the Week. And I've got a couple of beefs, and that's the expensive graphic that Alex has been kind enough to build for us, all courtesy of Mimo Live. Nice look. It's hot. It feels hot in here now. So I got a couple of them. One of them is the demolition of the east wing of the White House. Now, Alex, you just kind of have to go with me on this because it's not a big deal in Canada. But our president has decided to knock down the east wing of the White House. It's a historic building in favor of building a giant ballroom. And I've got a little bit of a beef because there's some history behind that. And the fact that I heard a rumor on Bill Maher's show that they're going to change that area that they're in the process of building into a Halloween spirit store. So just to let you know, next to the White House is going to be a Halloween spirit. Have you ever noticed that any demolished or closing furniture store or appliance place, it becomes a Halloween spirit store around the holidays? There it is. It's going to be that. Or the other gag would be he's looking for the Epstein files. So one of the two. So that's a beef. And my other beef is who named all this shit that you buy at the grocery store? Smart food. I mean, it's sort of like saying if you don't buy this, you're dumb. And I don't understand why is the term smart attached to a food item, which happens to be popcorn? Do you have any of this smart? Have you seen this stuff on the shelves?
You know, I have, Mitch, and the thing is, I'm not a fan of that stuff. And generally, I try to look. I sneak a snack in once in a while, but I try to have pretty good willpower, and I don't like eating processed foods very often.
Oh, you go for trail mix.
I don't keep that stuff in the house at all. If I'm going to eat a snack, it's going to be from there's a company locally that has these amazing fresh roasted nuts, and I'll just eat those. But I'm not going to eat that stuff.
Did you say nuts? Fresh
roasted nuts, man.
No sweaty balls, just nuts.
No, just nuts.
Okay, good. Well, good on you. I'm happy for you. So those are my two beef of the weeks. The other one is people that don't like dogs. Now that I have a dog, he's very happy. He loves people. He's been very socialized, but he likes to jump up on everybody. And unfortunately, some of the people go, "Aah!" as soon as the dog comes near them. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with you if you don't like a dog? Everybody loves dogs or any furry pet of any kind. Please, come to nature, whatever. In fact, I'm thinking of getting one of those ESA harnesses for him, the emotional support animals, so I can bring him anywhere because they kick the dogs out of the restaurants, airplanes, other mass transportation. So not that great a beef of the week, right, Alex? Alex looks bored.
You've had better for sure, but I you know what? I feel like I should contribute to the beef of the week, and I had one this week, and I should have written it down, and I've completely forgotten about it. I'll do better next week.
People that have hair that shave their heads, or people that shave their heads and do a comb over. That's another one that's a problem about hair. And you have good hair, or the lack thereof, but you wear it well. And the fact that you have that, that shadowy Greek Knight Rider.
Mm-hmm. What
beard on your?
Yeah, because I don't like clean shave, but
yeah, it's a good look on you, man. You do it well. You have a hairy chest too to go with that.
Yeah, well, we're not going to be showing that on camera.
Well, that's where the world has gone now.
This is a PG-13 show. There's a little bit of profanity,
chest.
But we can't. With that would go into rated R territory.
Okay, I know mine would because nobody. Like I go to the beach and I lay out on the water.
You can see it though because sometimes I wear. If I'm wearing a T-shirt or a V-neck or something, you can see it there. It's pretty hairy.
I was telling you that when I go to the beach, people roll me back into the ocean because they think I'm a beached whale. They come, we can save him.
That's funny.
Splash some water on him. His skin's drying out. All right, so that's it. That's what I got. We want to thank Rob Carson for not showing up today. He had stuff that he had to do. And Mark, we wish you the very best on your anniversary heading up to the mountains. It seems like a lot of people went to a lot of trouble not to show up on today's program. I don't know why. Maybe it's how many people do we have actually watching right now? 30 or 40? Can you see the statistics?
I'd have to see.
I put them on the spot. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I look at that. I look at that data later.
Yep, so do I. I look at it, read it, and weep. So if you're watching right now and you haven't done it yet and you haven't touched the subscribe button, shame on you. Please do that. It really doesn't take that much effort for you to reach down and punch up that subscribe or the like button. Either one of those things gets us one step closer to being monetized. Eventually, we need to eat. Eventually we need to survive. So. We're not making it a requirement. You don't have to subscribe to this program, but we do it out of the kindness of our hearts and the joy of the season, Halloween. So please take care of yourselves. And Alex, how do people reach out and talk to us when everybody's back to normal next week on the program?
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. You can join our online community, and I'm going to pop up that QR code that is hovering mysteriously over my left shoulder. If you just pull out your cell phone, open the camera app, scan that QR code, that will get you into our Discord community where you can join us. We've got all sorts of different channels to talk about different things like movies and TV shows, and talk about tech and talk about the industry and whatever you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be about the show as well. It's a fun place to hang out. So join us on that community. And of course, you can also, like Mitch said, if you haven't subscribed to the show on YouTube, you can do that. That's one of the ways that you can help us. Share it with a friend. If you know anyone else in the industry that is doing media production, whether they're in the broadcast radio world, or maybe they're on YouTube, or maybe they're an influencer. If they're interested in production, you can share the show with them. This show is also available as an audio podcast. If you don't want to look at our mugs on screen for your morning commute, you can find our show available as a podcast on all podcast platforms. That includes Apple, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, and Pandora. You can find us on pretty much anywhere. You can ask your Amazon Alexa device to play The Last Angry DJ, and we will be there in your ears. We also want to mention that you can also support us monetarily by going to patreon.com/The Last Angry DJ. That's patreon.com/The Last Angry DJ. Become what we call a monthly coffee supporter at a paltry $2 a month. And also thank you to the fine folks at Boink Software for providing Mimo Live, the platform that we're using to produce this show. We would not be able to do this show at 4K, at this stunning 4K UHD quality every week without these fancy graphics, without Boink's software and Mimo Live. So thank you. What's so funny?
I'm just laughing when you say fancy graphic, because I'm the one that always goes like, ooh, very expensive. Look at that. Wow.
Well, no, but when we have Mitch, when we have stuff like
the beef of the week,
when we have this, and that's pretty cool.
And look at that burn off, man. That's hot. That's hot. Get it?
But anyways, that's all I had to say.
That's good. I appreciate that. And I'm sorry I disappeared. We can only chalk that up to a bad internet connection or something that went wrong. And I had to try 3 times to get back in.
And Mitch, do you want to quickly mention, I know we're coming up on the end of the show, do you want to mention any of your current picks, your media picks or content picks?
Yeah, real quick. Over on Netflix, House of Dynamite. It looks like a stupid title, but you won't be disappointed. Great story. It's like a fail-safe redo. They cover a potential end-of-the-world disaster where a missile has been launched at the United States, and they don't know where it came from and how they prepare for it to crash into a part of the country. And they do it from 3 different perspectives. So they do the story from one person's perspective, and then they rewind and do it from somebody else's. It's a great storytelling device. So I like that. It's called House of Dynamite over on Netflix. And then it just got released as part of your subscription, Weapons, which is sort of a horror film reality thing. It's sort of my idea of a new take on zombies. And that's on HBO Max. And when it was in theaters, it crashed the theaters for like $250 million. And I think it's got a Rotten Tomatoes score of 92. So it's called Weapons, where I'm not going to give anything away, but it's kind of fun to see what's going on, the way they tell it, almost from a reality show standpoint. So 2 shows. Alex, how about you? Anything interesting you're watching?
Well, I will report back, but it looks really interesting. I've got tickets to see a movie right after the show, and I will show you what I'm seeing. It is a horror movie that just came out. It is directed by Chris Stuckman and executive produced by Mike Flanagan. I'm a fan of Mike Flanagan's stuff that he's done, and it is called Shelby Oaks. I was just captivated by this really creepy poster with the title that says, "It Wants Her." So I'll let you all report.
It Wants Her?
Yeah. And I watched the trailer for it. But I'll let you know next week. I'm going to go watch it today right after the show.
All right, cool. That's cool. You have a theater nearby? Is it an IMAX?
Yeah, I do. There is an IMAX in there, but this one's not being presented in IMAX.
That's cool. We'd love to have our friend Penn Ketchum, friend of show, who has the Penn Cinemas in this area.
Oh, yeah.
And they're also, I think they're working with the gang over at Office Hours on that cool performance type show things. So if they do a performance somewhere, I don't know the details, and I don't want to speculate, but it's something coming your way soon, where there could be a concert somewhere and you get a better experience, and they're making it that way. So that'll be cool. Look forward to seeing it. And Ronnie Hofsey says the Terminal List, Dark Wolf.
I haven't
I'm not sure
started
what channel that's on, but Jerry agrees with him.
Terminal List. I think that's what is that?
We could look.
Ronnie, is that a Netflix show? I think that's a is that a Netflix or maybe it's a Prime show? It's on one of those platforms. Let me look it up. I'm gonna look it up right now. Terminal List live on the show.
Sitting here chatting away.
I think that's a Prime, or he'll probably reply faster than I can.
By the way, Ronnie and Jerry both are using our Mukana, which is just a cool way to either ask a question or react to what's going on.
Amazon show. Prime. It's on Prime.
Okay, good. Well, check. That's what I'm going to be doing tonight.
I'm going to add it to my list right now, Ronnie.
Terminal List. It should be fun. Not to be confused with the Terminal Man or the Running Man or one of those other. Man. Yeah, exactly. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot. Glad to have you here, Alex. Thanks for covering for me for when I wasn't able to do it. And we'll see everybody again next week. Be safe.